Hello and welcome to YouTube Premium. I think you guys are the first ones to see me. Everybody else has to wait for a commercial. So we'll get them on here in just a second. And I think we're here. Okay, greetings Rainbow Warriors and welcome to episode 18 of Wednesdays with Mr. Tie-Dye. So today I'm going to do a hot air balloon. I had somebody ask about that. I think it was last week if I could do a hot air balloon, because I kind of made mention that I was looking for some more ideas just to kind of blend in some of your guys' ideas with my meditation creations. So anyways, this week we're going to do a hot air balloon. But let's first take a chance to first greet all the Rainbow Warriors out there. Hello and welcome. And then I also want to mention some new members to my channel and thank you guys. So in the last week we had Jax, Emily, Brian, Daryl, William, Mandy, Dragon Tears of Love, Marika, and Shelly and Donnie sign up to be new members. So thank you and namaste. I appreciate all the support. Last week during the video we had a couple super chats, one from Uniquely Yours and Sharon, so thank you. And also the donations we had during the week was from Heather, Amy, and Penny. So thank you guys. Like I say, I appreciate all the support and it really helps me keep on making all these videos here. So I think we're going to jump right into it. After I get done tying and dyeing the tapestry, then I'll jump into the questions and answers as well as the auction from the tapestry from last week. Well, let's also just do a quick hello to some of the people out there and then I'll get started. So we got Uniquely Yours, Sarah and family, Gwen, Becky, Messiah So Hot. Okay, I can't quite pronounce that one. Tie-Dyed. Oh, my mom's in the house. Hi, Mom. She was gone for a couple weeks. Oh, and thank you. Yes, it's Julie and I's anniversary today. We met 9 years ago. So thank you for the anniversary wishes. We got Travel Jojo, Jewel. Anyways, Infernal Farms, Canadian Ken, Erica, Chelsea, Asia Rose, Jewel, I said Jewel, Mala, Rawhide 2004. Okay, oh, and we had a new member sign up, Star. So thank you, Star Marie, for signing up to be a member of my channel. I appreciate all of the support. Okay, let's go ahead and get started here. So it looks like we got more people joining. We got 53 watching right now. So let me get this back out of the way here. And we'll break out the tapestry. So what I'm starting with is a tapestry from Sunshine Joy. It's one of the ones in the size category. It's 58 by 58. And after shrinkage, it comes down to about 54 inches by 56 inches. So, and it's already been soaked in soda ash. And I've spun it out, so it's just barely damp right now. And then I've just kind of done a bit of a wonky fold on it. I wanted to make sure I kept track of where the bottom was. And then instead of folding it straight in half, I folded it just a little bit off center because I'm going to put a large hot air balloon on here and then I'm going to put a smaller one up in the corner. So I didn't want the big one to be directly in the middle. I wanted it to be just slightly off center. So I just kind of folded this up. So instead of folding it in half, like I say, here's the other fold. So you can see I had a little bit of overlap on my tapestry here. So it's just a little bit off center. So, and you could certainly make the hot air balloon in the center. I just wanted mine off center. So, and then I folded the other little piece here just a little bit so that I could put the smaller one on that side. So let's go ahead and get the hot air balloon drawn on. You can freehand the hot air balloon if you like. But personally, I find it easier if I have a template, especially if it's a design that I'm going to repeat. And the hot air balloon is pretty close to the same shape as what I do for the infinity symbol. So I just went ahead and I'm going to use that as a guideline for my drawing here, and I'm just going to draw outside the lines just a little bit. So here's the bottom of my tapestry. I'm going to put a blue sky around the hot air balloons, and then I'm going to show the horizon line and put green at the bottom. So I'm just kind of judging. I want to have, you know, 6 to 8 inches of green down at the bottom. So this here balloon will be one that has just barely taken off, so that's why it's larger. And the only difference is I'm not going to go all the way down to the point. I drew a line on here where I'll stop, and that'll be where the basket begins then. So, but like I say, you can just freehand this. The one difference that I noticed between the infinity symbol and hot air balloons is the hot air balloons are a little bit wider. So I'm going to go out a little bit wider and then bring that back around here and just line it back up again. And then, like I say, I'm going to stop right there and just draw that straight across. So let's get that back out of the way. And then the other thing, we have the basket, and the basket is usually just slightly narrower than the base of the balloon here. And I'm going to leave myself a little bit of room. Normally there would be ropes that come down. I'm not going to try to dye those in, because when the balloon is up in the sky, you can't really see these ropes because they're so skinny. And by putting a big thick black line on there, it would just, to me, it just would take away from the design. So I'm going to leave that out. But I drew this on here just so I have an idea. I guess I want that a different color though. So that's just a guideline of where I want my balloon to, my box to start. I'm going to make it a little bit narrower, so I'm going to come in about a ½ inch from that, and I'm just going to draw a little square. Well, I guess I'll draw a little bit more than a square here. So that'll be my basket below the hot air balloon here. Oh, and by the way, Julie just now pulled up, so she'll be getting into the chat room here soon. She had a couple errands to go run. So, and then I'm going to tie this up with kite string, but once again, you can use whatever method of tying that you like. I just like kite string, but rubber bands or sinew or the zip ties, whatever works for you will be just fine. So I'm going to fold this basket up first, and then I'm going to fold the balloon up. So I'm just going to do little tiny accordion folds here. And whenever I end a run here, I like to end the run on the downward side so that the next run I can kind of flip it up and over and line it up right in that same spot. And then I can continue my lines from there. Oh, Julie's home.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you too.
I won't be on their channel for a minute.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like she needs a little bit more time to get set up, so she's got a few things else that she needs to do first. But she'll be in here soon. Okay, so there's my basket for my hot air balloon. So let me get this flipped around so I can get it tied. I lost you. Where'd I lose you, Saucy Bear? I hope I'm not making this too confusing here. Sometimes I know I get sidetracked, so... Let's see. Okay. And thank you guys for answering each other's questions, because like I say, I won't be really doing much of the questions until I finish up with the tie-dye portion here. Sometimes I'm able to, but not always. And usually that is when Julie's able to kind of help field the questions for me. The one thing when you do ask questions for me, either now or later on, if you put them in all caps, then I can find them and see them easier. Or the other thing, you can do a super chat and that kind of highlights your question for me to see it. So, but otherwise, Julie will try to pay attention to those, but she'll be a little bit before she gets into the chat room. And she usually brings the questions out to me. The fold of the basket. Oh, okay. Well, I just did just an accordion fold. And whenever I get to a corner, let me pull something else out here. So yeah, I think I've been trying to kind of explain this, and I probably need to just make another video. But whenever I have a 90-degree corner, and I'm doing my folds, when I'm doing this long run here, right at the end of the run, I want this last fold to be going on the downward side like this, rather than pointing up on the inside here. If it's going on the downward side, then this other line here, I can fold it up at a 45-degree angle to kind of match this line up with this line right there at the corner, and then I can kind of twist this around, and then this next line is in line with this other one here. So does that make a little bit more sense for you? That I just want to be able to fold this here at that 45-degree angle down in there, where those two lines match up. So that's what I did on the basket on those two 90-degree corners. So I hope that makes it a little bit more clear. Okay, let's go back to the basket here. Or not to the balloon. So we'll get this one folded up, and then like I say, I'm going to draw a line on here for my horizon, and then I'm going to put one more basket or balloon over here. So, okay, great. I'm glad that helped with you. Like I say, those 90-degree corners, or even sharper corners, are a little bit difficult, but I just found that with that little trick of being able to fold that part up at 45-degree angle, it has just really helped me get around those corners much easier. And then my tie is stable too, because in the past when I was trying to fold it in a weird way, then it wouldn't be stable, and I would tighten it up and it would kind of bunch out of there. But folding it up at an angle like that holds it in there nice and secure. And that's how, like for doing crosses, you need, for the way that I fold them, you need to do several of the 90-degree folds. And the one thing is, sometimes it doesn't end up with that end of the run being on the downward side. And in those instances, I will adjust my folds either just a little bit taller or a little bit shorter so that I can make that happen. So that's just something you have to kind of pay attention to as you're going along. And if I see that I'm not going to end in the right place, then I just make a little adjustment. So anyway, we're going to get this folded up, tied off, and I think I'm probably going to dye this in DNA style just to give us a nice bright rainbow balloon up in the sky. And we'll do a couple shades of turquoise for our sky and a couple shades of green for our horizon line for the ground. Okay, looks like we got more people joining in. We're up to, it looks like 64 people. So how's everybody's week going? Mine has been good. Like I say, we started out the day by going to breakfast because it's Julie and I's 9th anniversary. So we went to breakfast this morning, and I don't know if we'll make it out to dinner tonight or not, but we will go out to dinner. And then today's just been a nice sunny day. It's been, I think, a little bit warmer the last few days here in Oregon, but that means that it's been up in the 90s. I don't know that we've hit a 100-degree day here in Corvallis yet, but anyways, how's everybody else's day going or week going? Okay. Super hot in Virginia. Thank you for the happy anniversary wishes. Teaching summer school. Oh, wow. Crazy stuff. Mine's so good. I'm on vacation. Oh, vacation's always nice. I need to take a vacation. Pretty warm here. Oh, well, have fun at class, and yes, it's nice that these are always available after I'm all done streaming them. Okay, we got that wrapped around a couple times. I'm going to tie this off, and then I'm going to straighten all these folds out because, like I say, I'm going to do this in a DNA type die. So I want to straighten out these pleats a little bit. Oh, it looks like it's over 100 degrees in Pendleton. Wow, hot, hot, hot. Oh, I guess I can leave that tied since I'm going to finish tying this. So like I say, what I'm going to do now is just straighten out some of these pleats. I'm not going for perfection. If I was, I would have taken a little bit more time as I was folding this up, but I'm one of those just kind of let it roll. There's some things that I'm real perfectionist about, but there's other things that it's tie-dye, so I just kind of let it roll sometimes. And this is just one of those. But I can usually get in there pretty easily and straighten out enough of these folds to get the design to come out correct. And once I get a few of those straightened out, then I can wrap the kite string around it to hold that while I straighten out some more of them. Let's see, over 100 degrees in Idaho too. So hot in Louisiana. Yeah, I guess the temperature is just hitting people all over the place. Oh, it looks like Annie just joined us, and I see Casey's in the house, Amber. Tippy the tie-dye unicorn. Awesome. I love unicorns. There's mine. It's not tie-dyed, but it's a unicorn. I've had that since I was 18. And sometimes the cuticle pusher is a handy tool to get in there and straighten some of these creases out. Whether you need to pull one up or push one down. Or sometimes just unfold one a little bit. So I use a cuticle pusher, but anything really that has a nice smooth edge on it. This is just what I happen to like to use. And as I find new tools, I try to share them with you guys so you can get some of the same ones or maybe spark an idea for you to find a tool that you like. Okay. 90 here in northern Utah. Happy Wednesday. I have a couple tie-dye fails. I'm off my game. Yes, that happens to all of us. You just got to get back on that horse and tie-dye some more. And sometimes those tie-dye fails, you can tie them back up and turn them around into a success. So you can look up, if you haven't seen it, I have a video called an overdye. And that's where I usually will tie up a t-shirt that didn't come out how I wanted it. I usually will tie it up in a Ron Star or sometimes even just a random scrunch pattern. Tie it up really tight with sinew, and then I'll dye it in dark colors. And then whatever colors, bright colors that were in the t-shirt, they will come out and shine through in these brightly colored lines. Oh, thank you. Let's see, I missed. That scrolled up pretty quickly. Oh, uniquely yours. Thank you. I appreciate the support and the wish for our anniversary. Yes, we met 9 years ago. And it was at the Sweet Home Jamboree. It was the first time I had set up my booth at the Jamboree there. And lo and behold, Julie happened to be there with her mom, who was setting up a booth with a friend of hers. So I was a vendor and she was a vendor helper. And she wandered into my booth, and the rest is history. Well, actually, I guess it took us another week to connect after we met, but she tracked me down and sent me a picture, and then we started chatting, and we've been together ever since. So thank you for the wish and for the donation. Let's get back to our chat here. Oh, no problem, Eric. We're just getting a hot air balloon tied up. I'm doing one large one, and then I'm going to do a smaller one here. So you'll see how I tied the hot air balloon here in a second. But this here is the first one. I'm going to dye it in DNA style, so I'm just kind of straightening out my pleats a little bit. And it looks like Julie is bringing me some questions already, so once I get lined up on my next one here, then I'll get to answering some of those. Okay, so there's the first hot air balloon. And then we're going to flip this around and get a second one tied on here that's a little bit smaller. And both of them are going to be off center. This one here is going to be a little bit in the middle, but just off to the side, and the other one's going to be way off in the corner. But it'll be smaller because it's higher up in the sky. So I'm just going to flip this over. I had already kind of made myself a couple marks on here where I had done a little bit of a fold, just so I had an idea of where it was going. And then once we are all done, like I say, I'm going to do one more fold across the bottom, and then I'm just going to scrunch the rest of this up. Oh, and thank you, Saucy Bear, for reminding people. Yes, if you guys give my video a thumbs up, it just helps my channel be more searchable on YouTube, or it makes them come up in the feed more often. So I always appreciate that if you guys give them a thumbs up or you put a comment out there. That always helps. And I know while you guys are watching these live videos, it's a little harder to do that, but you can, I think, exit out of the chat, go like it, and then come right back into the chat. Okay. So I think I put this a little bit too far over to the edge, so I'm going to just readjust my fold a little bit here, just to bring it a little bit further in. There we go. So I'm just folding the other side of the tapestry up just part way, so you can see I just have just enough over at the edge of the tapestry. And sometimes it's a pain getting everything wrangled in here. I guess I can cut that string now. And that'll make it easier. Yeah, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to wrangle your fabric around, but if you just keep working at it, you can get it smoothed out just the way you want it. Okay, so this one, like I say, I'm going to put a little bit higher up on the tapestry. And then we'll go down here and do the box down here, the basket. So this one is much smaller down here. Okay. Alternative to soda ash, can't find it in my country. With these type of dyes, soda ash is required. It's the raising of the pH is what activates the dyes. So the closest thing that you could use is baking soda, but with the baking soda you need to heat it to turn it into soda ash. And if you look up my soda ash video, there's two of them, but look up the most recent soda ash video and on my channel here, and you'll see the directions for heating this baking soda to turn it into soda ash. I think baking soda should be found everywhere. The other thing, if you have, like washing soda, you can look on the side. It's a laundry detergent. Look on the side and it will tell you if it has the soda ash. It should say 100% soda ash on it. Also if you have any kind of a swimming pool supply store where they have the chemicals for raising the pH in the swimming pool, one of those is soda ash. So usually you can find it there if you happen to have a swimming pool store of any type, or you can use pH Up. Those are usually found in the department stores and probably over near the swimming pool stuff. I'm not quite sure, but I know a lot of people use pH Up or washing soda. And those, like I say, are both the soda ash, just using a different name for them. The other name for soda ash is sodium carbonate. So you can look that up also. So I hope that helps. Okay, so I got the basket folded and tied here, and now I'm going to get the balloon tied up, or folded up. And while I do that, I'm going to try and answer another question. How often do you get dye in your beard? It doesn't happen very often. I usually try to keep it up in a ponytail, or sometimes I'll even tuck it in my shirt, or I'll just hold it back while I'm dyeing. I try to keep it clean from everything. I mean, even like when I'm eating food, I'll tuck my beard into my t-shirt just so I don't get food in there. But I have a gray strip right down the middle of my beard, and I really like that, and I don't want to take a chance that it gets dye stained in there. Sometimes I think it would look cool, but then if it stays that way, then I would have to live with that until it grew all the way out. So anyways, thank you for the question. Where do you get your shirts? I buy mine wholesale from a place called sanmar.com. You need to have a business license, or at least register your business name with the state in order to sign up with them. That was all I did here in Oregon, is just I registered MrTieDye with the state, and then they give you a little receipt number for that, and then I used that to sign up with sanmar.com, and it's SANMAR.com, Sanmar. And they have warehouses all over the country. I happen to get mine right out of Seattle. So, but I know there's a lot of dyers that they use jiffyshirts.com and alldayshirts.com, and I think Alpha Broder is another supplier of wholesale t-shirts. What was the one from Mom? Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, we got new questions here. Will lemon plus pink make a golden color? Yes, I believe so. I usually will add a little bit of orange to my lemon yellow to make my gold. But yes, I believe the lemon with pink will do the same thing, because if you don't have orange, you could use just a little bit of fuchsia, which is just a dark pink. So the light pink will make, I think, a lighter shade of gold. And I would use mostly the yellow and add just like a squirt, just a small squirt of the pink, and then test a couple drops on white paper towel to give you just a general idea of what it's going to look like. And then you could always add a little bit more, but the main thing is you can't take the pink back out, and you would have to add a whole lot of yellow to lighten it back up again. So always go just really small with the additions and work up to the color that you want. Okay, we just about got this balloon tied, and I'm going to do the same thing, fold this up, straighten out all the creases so that I can do a DNA color on this one. I'll probably do different. I'm going to do the big one in rainbow, and I haven't quite figured out what I'll do the other colors in here, but we'll figure that out as we go. Oh, I'll leave that tied while I straighten these. So once again, I'm just going to straighten these pleats out a little bit. And let's see. Can I use a half a bottle of 3-week-old dye as water to make new dye, or will it affect hue, specifically black, fuchsia, lime green? Yes, when I get to a point where my dyes are getting too old where they're going to produce a lighter color, I will go ahead and, if I have just a partial bottle like this here, I will go ahead and pour this into my cup and then add more dye to make 32 ounces. And I haven't noticed it affect my hues at all. So if I have like a full bottle of dye, I will just add some to this just to strengthen it up. But this much here, I might as well just make another 32-ounce bottle. So yes, I will start with that older dye, because it's not, if it's just let's see, how old? 3 weeks old. Yeah, 3 weeks, it would still produce a halfway decent color at that point. I think it has to be a month or even older for it to produce just really bad colors. But I've still used dye at 2 or 3 weeks and had it produce decent colors. Some of them, like green, they will lighten up faster than other colors, but you should be fine using that as your base for making more dye. All right. Trying to get this where you guys can see what I'm doing. Like I say, I'm just straightening out these pleats here. All right. And then we're going to go ahead and fold the bottom up, which will be our horizon line. And then I'm just going to scrunch the rest of it for the sky. I think we're making good time here. I usually try to finish up the tutorial portion in an hour, and we're just 35 minutes in, so it might run a little bit longer, but I should be done pretty quickly. Once I get this all scrunched up, then the dyeing shouldn't take too long because I'm not doing anything too fancy with it. Okay, so now there are my 2 hot air balloons. So I'm going to try to keep those separate here, pointing out, and I'm going to scrunch the rest of this up. But first, this here is the bottom of my tapestry. And I'm not going to try and fold. I don't need a perfectly straight line for my horizon. I'm just going to, we're going to go about a little bit more than a hand width up. And I'm just going to fold kind of straight across. And like I say, I'll dye this part in green and then the rest of it up here in blue. Well, it looks like you guys are having some fun. I can't quite read all the comments in there, but I'm glad you guys are enjoying yourself. Sorry I'm not as interactive in the chat room while I'm doing the tying. I just need to stay on task because I get carried away and lose track of what I'm doing. Oh, Julie said she's bringing me more questions. I'll see what else I can answer here, and then, like I say, we're going to move into dyeing this. And then I'll get into more questions. Okay, and I'm going to scrunch the bottom here. Okay, I think we got that pretty good, and then we're going to move up and get the rest of the tapestry scrunched up. And the main thing, I'm going to try to keep both of the hot air balloons kind of flat and jetted out from the sides here as I go along scrunching. So in part of this, I have a couple different folds in here because I folded the tapestry over one way to get this, and then I folded it over the other way to put this on the other side. So I have kind of 3 layers of fabric in here. So I'm just trying to get them to kind of lay together as much as I can within these folds here, just to make sure I get decent saturation. But if I have a little bit of white left in this top part here, it's going to be the sky anyway, so it'll be just a little bit of clouds in the blue sky. So that won't be bad either. But I like to just, as I'm scrunching, I try to keep all my scrunches on one level. I try not to kind of get them flopped over top of each other, because then that's where you do tend to end up with more white spots, because the dye will kind of roll over a flap and miss an area underneath if you don't soak it well enough. So I just kind of get in there and just kind of do little pinches and just try to get the fabric to lay flat next to each other. And sometimes I'll go in with my cuticle pusher afterwards and straighten some of those folds out. These are ones that I kind of like to do, you know, where I'm doing an actual scene. I've done, you know, hills and trees and stuff, and I usually will do a little bit of a night scene, you know, a sky scene, and sometimes I'll put a little river or lake in there. But this one here is going to be, like I say, the blue sky with 2 hot air balloons and then the green grass down at the bottom. So it's just a matter of kind of laying out everything that you want and then folding it up, and you can kind of design your scene however you like. So I'm just getting this tied up now. And the other thing, I can see the basket wants to touch on the balloon, so as I go down here, I'm going to make sure that I have both of these baskets separated, because I'm going to dye those in a tan color and I don't want them touching the rainbow. So I can usually adjust that. So like this one over here, as I pull more on these ties right here, it pulls that basket away from the balloon there just by tightening that up. So I'll do the same thing over here. When I pull on there, it pulls that away. That's one of the things I like about the kite string, is you can just tighten things up in different areas to get it to lay how you want it. Okay. I think we about got this tackled here. I just like to make sure I have everything kind of semi-tight in there. I don't do it really tight because I don't want to end up blocking the dyes off. If I was going to let it dry, that would be a different thing, but when I'm doing liquid dyeing, I like to have it tight but not real tight. That makes sense. Okay, I think we're about ready to tie this off here and start adding some dye to it. Okay. Oh, I need some gloves. I'll be right back. Okay, and then the other thing, just to make moving this thing around a little bit easier on the table as I'm dyeing it different places, I'm going to put it on a towel so that I can slide it around without worrying about getting dye contamination everywhere. Now these are some of the folds I said I could straighten out with my cuticle pusher. I just get in there and kind of tuck things down. Okay, so this balloon here, I'm going to dye it in rainbow colors. And the basket I'm going to dye in tan. And the bottom I'm dyeing it in 2 shades of green. So let's get to the rainbow first. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to dye this here in DNA style and this in DNA. And then the rest of them I'm just going to dye in shades. I've scrunched those, so I'll put a light color down and then a dark color down. And my 2 baskets, I'll dye, in fact, let me just dye those right now. I'm going to dye these in tan. I'm using bronze, but it's an old bronze, so it might come out just a little bit lighter. And then we're going to start out with fuchsia for our balloon here. And I'm just using regular dye. None of this is thickened dye. It's just all regular, mixed just with tap water, and I might have even put urea in this batch. There's my fuchsia. Here's deep orange. Okay. So this here is deep orange. And these are all Dharma colors. Lemon yellow. This here is bright green. This one is one that I mix myself. I use 3 parts lemon yellow and then 1 part turquoise to make my bright green. And you can add more yellow to make it more of a limey green, or you can add more turquoise to make it a darker green. But this is a color that I mix up myself. And it started with I had ran out of my bright green and I needed to use it, so I ended up just mixing my own, and then I liked how it looked, so I haven't ordered it again, the bright green. I just mix it. Okay, something's going on over here. Could you use this design to make a steampunk hot air balloon? I suppose so. I don't know what would be the difference between a hot air balloon and a steampunk hot air balloon. But it would basically, I think, be the same type shape. So I would think that you could use this design and then color it in the fashion that you like. And you use Ludigol in your dyes. No, somebody else has asked me about the Ludigol, and no, I don't use that in my dyes. I hadn't heard about it until the other person asked me about it. So I just mix mine with water. Sometimes I will put urea in there. If I do, I will put 1 to 2 tablespoons for 16 ounces. Sometimes I'll put salt in, like in my turquoise and my black. And when I do that, I put, I think, 1 tablespoon for 16 ounces of the turquoise. And for the black, I think I usually put 2 tablespoons for 16 ounces. But I haven't used the Ludigol. I haven't done those questions yet.
Okay.
Okay, we're just about done with this one, which means I have to figure out colors for that one. So, let's see. See, that's why I like to put this on a towel, then I can spin that around instead of having to pick that up. Okay. I think I'm going to go with bright green and the dark blue for this other balloon here, just to make it a little bit different. So since I'm just using 2 colors, I'm just laying my dye down and leaving a space there for the blue, just to make it easier so I'm not picking the bottle up and down. Okay, and now, like I say, the rest of this here, I'm going to dye it in turquoise. So I think I'm going to put a little bit of light turquoise in there, just because I like a little bit of texture in my sky, and well, in all of my dyes. So I'm not dyeing this solid. Bring that right up to the hot air balloon. Like I say, I'm not putting an outline on this one here, but just by putting the turquoise there, the fuchsia was spreading up, so it's going to give me a purple line there. And then there's the basket. And that's our horizon line. Okay, let me see if I can answer some questions here. You forgot to tuck your beard. Oh, yeah, my beard is up high enough right now that it's not really getting into my dyes. But thank you, Lacey Joe. I appreciate that. How long have you been growing your beard? Husband has one. Appreciate the length. I've been wearing my beard long for 3.5 years. It took me, I think, 2.5 to get it out to this length, and then it just kind of stopped growing. I get a few of the little scraggly ones that keep growing, and I just keep trimming it off. But I kind of really like this length for my beard, so. And it seems that's where it seemed to want to stop, so I just kind of wear it that way, and then Julie braids it for me. And that keeps it up off my chest in the summertime. And then it helps not hide my face. Right now I have it just in a ponytail just to get it out of my way, but yeah, I like to have it braided. I just like the way it looks. Kind of start my own trend, I guess. Oh, today I will be auctioning off the Icosahedron from last week. That's the one that I dyed. It's one of the platonic solids, and it's also sacred geometry. It's a 3D shape, but of course I had to dye it flat. But the 3D shape would have 20 of the equilateral triangles on it. So it looks like one of the dice from Dungeons and Dragons. They had all different kinds of dice that they used in that game, different number of sides on them. So anyways, so it's the icosahedron, and I do have a picture of it in my links album here. So I just posted a link. So I think in the second link it'll see, tapestry auctions. You can go into that. It's over on Facebook. You can open that album up, and the top picture, the one all the way, the first one, is the icosahedron, and that's the one that'll be up for auction today. And I will start that as soon as I'm done dyeing this and get the table cleaned up. Then we'll go right into the tapestry auction, and I'll start doing more of the Q&A then. But while I'm doing this, I try to keep the tutorials as clean as possible. So I put bright green down here for the grass, and then I'm putting a little bit of emerald green over top of it just to give me a little bit of texture. I love texture, I love movement, and that's why I love the tie-dye, because that's just how the colors work. Okay, so I've dyed my whole sky here around my balloons. Got both my balloons, my basket dyed. I just need to touch up this one. I usually will start that dye just a little bit away from the line and let it spread, and it didn't quite make it all the way there. So I just add just a little bit to touch it up. Okay. Let me see if I got another small towel here. Nope, no small towel. I guess I'll just use this big one. So what I'm going to do is flip this baby over, and we're going to get the other side dyed. Okay, so now for my big rainbow balloon, I'm going to move my dyes down. So I think you guys, yeah, you've seen that. So last time I started with fuchsia right up here at the edge. And this time I'm going to start with orange. So I'm going to put orange down first. That's going to go in the spot that was fuchsia. And then we're just going to work our way down. So that just shifts all my colors over one space. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing over here with this one. I'm going to put blue in the spots that are green, and I'll put green in the other spots. Although I think I added just a little bit too much dye, so it soaked through here quite a bit. But we can still make this work. Okay, so there's our two balloons. I need to touch up the basket just a little bit on this side. And then we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to put my light turquoise down to start with. So this here's our sky, and then I'm going to do the same greens on the lawn here also. Okay, let's see here. Oh, Annie is celebrating an anniversary this Friday, 38 years. Congratulations, Annie. And let's see, how long does your black dye last? What do you use it on? Just for details. For my black dye, I mix 3 different shades of black into mine to make it dark, and then it lasts the same. You know, I'll have it mixed up here for 2 to 3 weeks, and it's good. After 3 weeks, I will usually add another couple scoops of dye depending on how much I have there. And I use my black dye. I'll mix up some of it thick to use for outlines a lot of times. This is something that I sometimes will outline. I decided not to do it this time. I wanted to use all regular dyes. But yeah, I use the black dye in my thick dyes. But I also love to put black over top of, you know, rainbows or something. So I'll dye something in rainbow, and then I'll put a little bit of black over top of it. And I also like, you know, just mixing black with another color, you know, so I'll do one that's in black and blue or black and green. So I hope that answers your question. And do you ever use clothespins on shirts when you tie-dye? Yes, I've used clothespins, and I also use, so I got clothespins here. I'll try to hold stuff in space, and I got these binder clips that I use also. So anything that you can use that has a smooth edge. I mean, the binder clips, sometimes I'll reach in there to make sure that there's no sharp edges in there. But as long as you have smooth edges, you can use these here to hold things in place while you're still trying to fold stuff. That's where that third hand comes in handy that none of us seem to have. Oh, we got a new MrTieDye fan. Thank you. Let's see. Warmonger 420. Oh, I gotcha. Thank you for signing up to be a member of my channel. I appreciate all the support. Namaste. And welcome to the MrTieDye membership. Okay, so here's our dark green over the bright green for the lawn. And then we're going to use the regular turquoise over the light turquoise. So this just gives me some more texture. Oh, I need to touch up with a little bit more light blue. I went kind of sparingly with the light blue here because I was going right next to orange. So I put it on a little bit away and let it spread, and now I just added a little bit more to bring it up to that line. And that's kind of one way you can deal with that. Sometimes at that point, if you get it right to where you want it, you can take another rag. So I got one rag underneath, and I use another rag to push on top, and that will help take out some of that excess dye so that it doesn't spread anymore. So that's another way of kind of adjusting how your dyes flow, is just by soaking up some of that extra dye. But the main thing is, I know my pleats are really thin here, so I have that saturation. But if you have thicker pleats, you want to make sure that you kind of open those up and check before you soak up some of that excess dye. And if you need to, you can use your cuticle pusher or something like this here to tap on that edge where you just added that extra dye to get it to soak in further if you've peeked in there and you see white spots. But once you have the white spots gone, you can soak up that extra so that while it's batching, it doesn't keep spreading. Okay. Let's see if we got some more questions here. Okay, I think we answered all of those. So let me see, we've got page 2 here. Skin tone, please. She does not have Cafe a Lot or Camus or Peach, but Peach is available. Yeah, Peach would, I think, be your closest match. Personally, I haven't made the skin tones from using the Peach, but I would imagine that if you added just a little bit of brown to that, just like a couple drops or a drop or two of black, that would darken that peach up just a little bit. So I think it's just a matter of kind of playing with it, and I can try playing with that at some point and see if I can do some more color mixing and give you an idea of how to mix that up. But it's usually something that I sit down when I need it and I just kind of play with it and see what I can mix up. Sometimes, but I usually will start in one of those little small bottles like this here, so that I'm only mixing up just a little bit of dye at a time. So if I get it wrong, I can just pour it out and start over again. That one's done there. Okay, so we're getting close to being done dyeing this, and then we're going to open up the auction, and I'm going to get more into the Q&A. Like I said, I try to mix in some Q&A while I'm doing the folding and the dyeing, but I've been trying to keep this portion as clean as possible, because there are some people that they just want to come in and watch the tutorial. So this gives them the option to watch without me jumping around all over the place. Okay, I think that is going to be good. Let me check my folds in here just a little bit. I usually like to just kind of give a peek just to make sure that I have good saturation. The main thing is I try to wipe off my cuticle pusher in between colors. I can see just a little bit of white in there. I'm not too worried about just a tiny bit of white. If it was a lot, I would add some more dye in there. But if I get just a little bit, that'll make it look like I have just a slight bit of clouds in my sky. Okay, I think that looks good. And if I found any white down in my green, I would go ahead and add more, just because we don't need clouds in our grass. Okay, I think that all looks good, so I'm going to put this up to batch. I'm going to batch this for 48 hours, and then like I normally do, I'll do a rinse out, more than likely on Friday, and put a video up as soon as I can for the reveal. So let me take these gloves off. I'll get this dye put out of the way, and then I'll break the tapestry out.
This one already.
Yes. Okay, let's get this auction roll in here, and then we'll get into the question and answers. Oh, thank you, Annie, or Jewel, I guess. Thank you, Jewel. Yes, these are my tie-dye shorts. They're fire and ice. So I got, well, Fire and ice. Yeah, I love to dress up in bright colors and go out into town, and I always think I'm going to shock people, but I have people come up to me all the time tell me that they love my outfit. It made them smile. So that's an even better thing. Instead of trying to shock people, I'm making people smile. Got to bring some joy to the world wherever I can. Okay, so this here is the icosahedron. Like I say, for the 3D figure, it has 20 of these sides on it around there. This here, of course, is a flat rendition of the 3D-ness of it. But this is the one that we folded up. I folded up last week and dyed it. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the bidding right now so you guys can start placing your bids in the chat box there. Let's see. My motto is walk softly and wear loud clothing. Yes, I like that. Yeah, I've had on numerous occasions, Julie and I will go someplace, sometimes to a festival or sometimes just to visit. Let's see. Yes, icosahedron is what this is. And we'll have people walk up to us and ask if they can take our picture because we're both wearing head-to-toe tie-dye. So, and I've gone through airports and I could hear people snapping pictures standing behind me. Of course, they seem to be shy when I turn around and look at them and they act like they didn't take a picture. All right, so Kathy, yes, Kathy has opened up the bidding with $50. Thank you. Let me bring this computer closer so that it's in my visual reading range here. There we go. That'll work better. Okay. Let me get my turtle out of the way. So we have a $50 bid for the icosahedron. And then let's see what kind of questions we have here. Is there a particular temp to avoid while batching? 100 degrees in the garage. No, no, no. The temp that you want to avoid is cold temps. 100 degrees in the garage is going to be perfect. The heat is going to help speed the batching of your tie-dyes. I like to put mine in these tubs. Let me break the tub out again. And then I put a lid on top of this here, so it sits on a rack. And then I put a lid on top of this to keep the moisture in. And then I will set this out in the sun on my roof, the shed roof. And I know that the heat speeds the batching time, but I still leave mine sit for 48 hours because by the time I go to start rinsing it, almost all of the dyes are spent. So I'm not worried too much about the backstaining happening. So yes, 100 degree in the garage is going to be perfect for them. The main thing though is you want to make sure that they're going to stay wet. So you need to either have them in a bag or in a tub with a lid. So, and let's see, how do you batch ice dyes? I let the ice melt completely, and once the ice is melted, I'll usually check the bottom to see if I got good color. Then I'll go ahead and put it in one of these bins, put the lid on, and batch it in the same way. I start my batch time after the ice melts. Sometimes though I pick it up and it looks like the bottom needs some more color. Depending on how much color and whether I'm doing an inclined dye or not is whether I might touch it up a little bit with just liquid dyes of the same colors, or if it needs a lot, then I will sprinkle some more powder on and put more ice and let it batch or melt again. Soon as it's done melting, then that's when I will put it outside and batch in the hot weather if I can. And in the wintertime, I will take these tubs and stack them next to a heater vent. So, yep, go for it in the garage. Let's see. I gotta scroll back and check a question here. But luckily I have the time that it was asked. Let's see, 212 Tommy Henniger. Okay, I filled my used dye bottles with water to try to stretch my colors, and I ended up with a nice pastel. Is batching process the same for pastel colors, or do I need to let them sit longer? Nope, it's the same. I batch my all of my dyes, whether they're bright colors or pastel colors, I batch them for 48 hours. If I'm in a little bit of a rush, I'll do a minimum of 24 hours. And if I'm in a super rush because somebody calls me up at night and needs it the next day, then I will steam set the dye in my vegetable steamer. I did do a video on that where I did the fireworks design, and I dyed it. I put it in the steamer for 45 minutes, let it cool for 90 minutes, and then I washed it out. But yes, if I'm doing pastels, I will batch them for 48 hours just like the rest of my dyes. Have you ever tried a Kenny style dye? Yes, I've done several of those, but that's a video that I'm not going to personally make. That's one that Kenny and his son invited me to come down to their studio sometime and do a collaboration video with them. So at the point that I'm able to travel down to California and hook up with them, if they're still up for it, then we will do a collaboration video where they can kind of explain mostly about their design and how they want it presented. But I've done my own take on it and had a lot of fun with that. What is Lutegal? I don't remember. I first heard about it when somebody asked me a question last week, and I looked it up and read about it just to see, but I don't remember now what it is. What dyes do you put urea in? Sometimes I will put them in all dyes, but mostly I'll put them in like my red and my black and one of my blues, I think my sapphire blue. Any ones that I use excess amount of powder in, most of them I'll use like 5 to 6 teaspoons for a 16-ounce bottle, but my black I use 10 to 12 teaspoons in. And the urea will help you mix more powder into the water. Now, granted, when I'm done mixing it, if there's a bunch of gunk, I always strain mine. I pour them through a filter. If there's a couple little spots, that's fine. But if there's a layer of gunk in there, I tap all that back down into my mixing cup and add more water and blend it up, because that is part of the recipe of the black. If you just pour that gunk down the sink, then you're not getting all of the recipe and your color is not going to be correct. So that's one of the things. I'm going to be doing another dye mixing video, dye mixing 2.0 or whatever, just because I want to add a little bit more details in, and that's one of them, because I've had some people contact me with their colors not coming out right, and I'm wondering if that's a possibility, if they're filtering, they're straining their dyes and they're getting a lot of gunk and they're not mixing that in. Okay, how long do mixed dyes last? I have mine around at room temp, which here in Oregon is anywhere from 65 to 75 degrees. I keep them around for 2 to 3 weeks and still get decent colors out of them. At the 3-week point, if I still got a bunch of dye left, let me see if I got one of them over here. Yeah, so like if I have, a full bottle of dye or half a bottle of dye, I will go ahead and add another scoop of powder and reblend that at the 3-week mark just to freshen it up. If I have just a little bit of dye left that's 3 weeks old, then I will just kind of use it in amongst the other brighter, newer colors. It'll be a little bit lighter, but that just adds more contrast for me. So I don't worry about if I have just that little bit left. Or the other thing, if I'm going to make more green dye because I need it for another project, I will pour this into the bottom of my dye cup and then just use this here as the base part of my, instead of water, I'll use this here, a little bit of dye to mix the new batch of dye with, if that makes sense. And if you have a spare fridge to store these in, they're going to last even longer. So I don't happen to have that. On the really hot days, I'll take some of these rags, get them wet, and just lay them over top of my dye bottles. So if all the dye bottles are sitting here, I will just kind of drape wet rags over them, and that just acts like a little bit of air conditioning to keep them cooler on the really hot days. But 65 to 75, they're usually fine sitting there for 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, and let's see. I don't know. I didn't pay attention if we had any more bids. Yeah, we still got just the one bid of $50 from Kathy. Let me scroll to make sure. Yeah, so we have $50 bid from Kathy for this here. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this auction open for longer for the icosahedron as I scroll through some more questions here. Oh, it looks like I got one on here. I'll see if I can answer a couple of these. And if you put any questions that you're asking to me, if you put them in all caps, they're easier for me or Julie to find. Is there a way to share my art to get pointers? Yeah, if you go over to the tie-dye pages on Facebook, there's a Dying to Tie page, and I think it's called Tie-Dyeing page. And there's a whole bunch. If you just search for tie-dye, you'll find a whole bunch of different pages. But some of those you can post your pictures and just ask people for opinions and ask for help on them if you're trying to figure something out. The main thing is to post your own dyes. Don't be posting pictures of somebody else's dye and ask, how do I do this? Because that's frowned upon on the tie-dye pages. But if you're posting your own dyes and just asking for help, how to fix them, people will usually help you. The other thing you can do is go into the files in the different Facebook pages, and they've got a lot of tie-dye information in there. So anyways, hopefully that will help you. There's a whole lot of different tie-dye pages. I belong to many of them, and I try to scroll down now and then and answer any questions that I can on those pages too, and amongst the other places I answer questions. Let's see. Do you know Lonnie Frisbee in San Francisco? The name does not sound familiar. Let's see. Which dye or kit are you using to get that good of color? I use Procyon dyes. They're fiber reactive dyes. I buy most of mine from Dharma, but there's lots of different dye houses. You can go with Custom Colors in North Carolina. You can go with Grateful Dyes out of Colorado. There's ProChem in, I think, Massachusetts. And I do, on my frequently asked questions page, I do have some links to other places that you can find dyes. I'm just starting to put the frequently asked question page together, so there's not a whole lot in there. There's maybe a dozen questions right now. But the launch links that I just posted here in the chat box, if you click on that, scroll to the bottom, there's the frequently asked questions, and that'll take you over to my page, and I do have a listing that I'm building. I am looking for people that are buying their dyes outside of the country and where they're buying them from, because I'm trying to compile a list, because I have a lot of people ask me those questions, and I don't know where to buy them from. So if anybody in here has a place, you can put it, don't post it in the chat box here. If you post it below the video, that will help me find it later on. In the chat box, I might not find it there, so. Okay, let me see if I got any more questions here or any more bids. I don't see any more bids, so it looks like we still have a high bid of $50 on this. I'm probably going to close this out in just a few minutes, so if anybody else wants to place a bid for the icosahedron, now is the time to do that. Okay. Mix black and pink, hoping for dark pink. Yes, the main thing when you add black to something is you need to add just minimal. I usually will put just a few drops at a time and test it, because black will darken other colors quite quickly. So the other thing you can do for a dark pink, let's see, you can try mixing it stronger. Fuchsia is a very dark pink, so if you have fuchsia, you can use that for your dark pink also. Oh, it looks like Canadian Ken is having a boy. He has 3 girls who love tie-dye. Awesome. Congrats on the new boy and the 3 girls who love tie-dye. This is a great channel for you. Let's see. Okay, somebody asked a question. It says, if you added a sun, how to stop blue and yellow from making green? The main thing that you can do for that is, you've seen how I added the dye on the basket. I added it back from the line. So say this here is my dye line, and this here is my basket down here. I started with my dyes all the way down here to let them spread a little bit. So I would do the same thing for the sun. The other thing you can do is try tying it a little bit tighter. You might end up then with a white line around it, but if you really want to avoid green, you could tie your sun with sinew just to keep it more clean, but then you got to add your dyes further away from the line, let them spread, lightly touch them up, and then when you get the colors to where you want them, I would use a rag to kind of soak up the excess dye. But sometimes it just happens that way, and for me, I just let the universe, if the universe insists upon me having a little green ring around my sun, then that's just the way it is. And I applaud and I welcome the universe to join me in the creations of my dyes. But I know it's frustrating when you get things that you don't want. 20 years of doing this, I've learned to just kind of relax into the process and let it be what it is. But there are ways, like I say, you can slowly apply your dyes, squeeze out the excess, tie it really tight. Those are things that will help you keep your yellow and your green, your blue separate from each other. Okay, I think I got all of these questions answered here. So let me take another quick peek to see if we have, okay, Lisa Poole bid 60 for the tapestry, so we'll let this run a little bit longer here. Oh, and she has more questions. I think I have, oh, and thank you, Jewel, for letting me know that there was another bid. Yeah, sometimes I scroll down here and I missed it, so yes, so I have Lisa's bid. That's the high bid, unless there's another one down further. Let me scroll down to see. I don't see another bid now. Okay, will dyeing a cream color shirt with pastels turn out similar as on white? That one is a little tricky. I mean, it depends on how dark the cream color. I mean, I know cream is just an off-white, but depending on how dark that is and how light you want your pastels, there is a slight chance that it'll be just a little bit off, but I can't imagine that it's going to affect it that much. So I think you should be fine dyeing the cream color, as long as it's just a really light cream, off-white color. The pastel should be fine on it. Oh, we got over 100 watching. Thank you, Saucy Mare. What is the urea for, and also what is adding salt for? The urea helps you mix more powder into the liquid, and it also is a wetting agent. So in hot, dry climates, it helps keep the t-shirt or the tapestry wet while it batches, because as soon as the dyes dry out, then they stop bonding. So you want them to stay wet. But usually just putting them in a bag or in a container will help that. I mostly use the urea for mixing more powder, because my black and some of my blues and my red, they use more dye powder. And the salt is supposed to help darken blacks, and it's also supposed to help improve the color of turquoise. So that's the reason that I add salt into my dyes. And I know in vat dyeing, you'll add salt in, and that's meant to help push the dye out of the liquid and into the fabric. So I don't know if it quite works the same way when you're doing just regular tie-dye, but I figured that's a good enough reason for me to add it into mine, but I don't do it all the time. Let's see. Okay, Lisa Poole bid 70. I'm guessing that there was another bid here. Okay, yeah. Themacraft bid 65. Lisa bid 70. Thank you. Oh, and thank you. Let's see. I'm trying to ice dye right now. Oh, good luck with that. Have fun. Yes, the ice dyeing, it's just a matter of putting the powder on, and I usually will add a little bit of extra soda ash and then just letting the ice melt through the dyes. I love the colors that you get from ice dyeing, so have fun with that. Can't wait to see the balloon. Awesome. Yes, I'm looking forward to that too. Haven't ice dyed yet. Thank you for answering. You're welcome. Okay, so right now we have the high bid on here for $70. So I'm going to let this run for a little bit longer here. If we get more bids, we'll let it run even longer. But right now, the high bid is at $70 for this. Have you ever tried hot water irrigation? No, I haven't tried that yet. I've seen it done. The closest that I've gotten to hot water irrigation is using a steam wand. One of those clothing steamers that has a big wide wand or nozzle on it with a bunch of holes in it. You turn it on and it shoots out jets of steam. So I've tie-dyed something and then I've used that to run over top of it to force that hot steam through it, and then I let those cool, and then I was able to wash them pretty quickly. The colors were a little bit lighter, so I didn't continue with that. But the hot water irrigation, that's a little bit different because you're putting usually powdered dyes on and then adding the hot soda ash through there. I just haven't tried that. I don't have, you know, one of the sprayers, or I've seen some people, they use bottles and different ways to apply it, but I just haven't gone there yet. One of these days I might. Let's see, I've been watching your videos all day. Awesome. Oh, thank you. Yep, I do a live, this is my 18th live show on Wednesdays. I've done 18 in a row. Let's see. Greetings from the Netherlands. I just started tie-dyeing yesterday, so I hope to learn more. But I will be okay when I watch your videos. You make amazing things. I love the spiral and the spider. Awesome. Well, thank you and welcome to the wonderful world of tie-dye. And yes, you can explore my channel. I do have a bunch of different playlists. One of them is my beginners playlist where I kind of talk about the whole process of tie-dyeing while I dye a shirt. But I have just a whole ton, so have fun exploring. And like I say, every Wednesday I go live at 1:30 Pacific Daylight Time. I'm not sure what time that is in the Netherlands, but it's probably much later than it is here. I know in the UK they start, I think it's 9:30 p.m. In the UK when I start these. Okay. Yeah, 18. That was hard for me to believe. I had to start numbering them because I wanted to keep track of them. Oh, awesome, Casey. Thank you for tuning in to all of my shows except for 2. Yes, I just happened to be here for all of them, but okay, so we still got a $70 bid from Lisa Poole is the high bid. So I'm going to leave this open for another minute and then we'll start the closing. So if you want to place a bid for this Icosahedron, go ahead and place that in the chat box now. We're going to close it out in just a few minutes. Okay, let me answer a couple more of these questions here and see what we got. Is there a way to share my, okay. New at tie-dye, what kind of dye should I use? Tulip, Dylon, or Procyon? If you have access to Procyon dye, I would go with Procyon dye. The next option, I haven't used the Dylon or the Tulip myself, but I've heard of people getting really good results from the Dylon, so that would be my next choice, and then Tulip after that. But if you have access to Procyon, I would go with Procyon. I've been using those for 20 years, and I've been very satisfied with them. So yeah, 11 p.m. in the UK right now. Let's see, do you use tap water or distilled? I use tap water for mine, but I haven't had any issues with tap water. I know some people have had issues with the different minerals and things affecting, if they got hard water, it affects their dyes. So if you are having dye issues that you can't figure out, you might try using distilled water. In fact, I need to remember to mention that to, I've had one person that's had some issues. So I need to let her know about distilled water. Okay. I've used Dylan and tulip dyes. It's gotten some good results. Good. Yeah, the tulip, what I've heard, if you mix those dyes right before you're ready to use them, meaning you get your shirts all tied up to start with, and if you also do a soda ash soak, even though the tulip says you don't need to, if you still do one and then you mix your dyes and put them on directly, then you get fairly decent. Still not as good as Procyon, but you still get decent results with the tulip. And let's see. Okay. I think I'm going to go ahead and close this out. I haven't seen any more bids come in. So Lisa Poole is the high bid right now at 70. So if anybody else has bid that I didn't see it, or you want to bid, go ahead and put it in there. But I'm going to close out the bidding at $70. So $70 going once. $70 going twice. $70 going 3 times.
Somebody was asking about this. They saw you wearing it in your pot leaf stitching video. So this is the one about that question. It's not on that page.
Oh.
It's in your feed.
Okay. Okay. I think $70 sold. So Lisa Poole, congratulations. You are the new owner of the Icosahedron Tie-Dye Tapestry. So I will put my links in here. You can either scroll down to the bottom and send me a message and I will send you a invoice, or if you want to just go to the PayPal donation link, add in shipping, which is $7, so your total is $77, and you can just pay that direct through the PayPal donation link, or like I say, send me a message either on Facebook or through one of my store or something, and I have those links on my launch links that I just posted there. So congratulations, Lisa, and thank you for bidding. Thank you all for bidding. Thank you all for being here. I'm having so much fun doing these live videos and just interacting with everybody and answering as many questions as I can. So let me scroll up here and see. It sounded like there was a couple more questions. Was it? Oh. Oh, okay. I didn't. Oh, well, where'd the t-shirt go? Okay, so we had a question about a t-shirt that I wore in my pot leaf video. Somebody asked what the style was and if there's a video. If I can get this laid out here. So this here is the t-shirt. It's a long sleeve, so I put funky little things on the sleeves here. But anyways, this here is the Ronstar. This one here I tied up just a white t-shirt in the Ronstar method, and then I colored it, the Ronstar, in light turquoise, fuchsia, and yellow, and more turquoise out here. and then I dyed black over top of the whole thing. So that's where the black then came in. And this here is, since it's an old shirt. And it was before I started doing my blacks the way that I do them now. So it looks more of a gray. But anyways, Ronstar, and yes, there is a video. I have a few different videos on the Ronstar method of folding. So if you just search in my channel for Ronstar, Ronstar, you will find videos. Or even if you just search on YouTube for Ronstar, you might find the actual video from Ron, who the video is, the design is named for. And I'm sure there's other people that have done the Ronstar design. But anyways, yes, there is a video for this design on there. Okay, is it okay to mix tulip and Procyon? That part, I haven't used the tulip myself, but just from what I have heard from other people, I'm pretty sure that the tulip is Procyon, or it's similar to Procyon. So you could add, I think, extra Procyon dye into your tulip bottle to darken that up. But since there's soda ash already mixed in there with that, it's going to only be good for that day. It's going to give you the best colors right after you mix it, but the longer that it sits around, it's going to be active as soon as you add water. So the longer it sits around, the weaker it's going to get, and the next day it might still produce a very light color, but I don't know that for sure. But I think that the adding a little bit of Procyon dye in would probably then darken those colors up. So I would say yes, that should be fine, but that's just my opinion. I haven't actually done it. I haven't heard of anybody else that's done it. So I hope that helps. But a lot of times for me, if I think, I wonder what would happen if, I usually will go ahead and try that out and see, because you never know what you're going to find. I do a lot of experimenting. So you could try maybe doing it just with one bottle just to see, but you might also just decide to keep your Procyon separate because they're going to last longer that way. But that's really up to you. Okay, let me see if I have any more questions in here. Have we ran J Ripple past Josh? Oh, no, I haven't talked with Josh about that. He has his own video, so I don't know if you're wanting to know if, I don't remember what J Ripple was. If we had a conversation about that, I'm not recalling at the moment. Oh, thank you. Julie and Carl make a good team. Yeah, she helps me out. She's not always able to be in the chat box or fielding questions for me, but when she does, yes, it works just perfect. Okay. Yeah, thank you guys for answering some of the questions in here. Have you ever tried another carrier for the dyes other than water? No, I haven't. Water is the only thing that I've mixed mine with. The closest to anything else would be making thick water, but I'm still basically using the water and then thickening that and then mixing the dyes into it. As far as doing like ice dyes, I have taken some powder and mixed it with salt before I put it on. And I know that Gary and probably a bunch of other people, but Gary's the one that I've seen do it. Oh, and I think his name just left me, but the guy that did the hot water irrigation, he takes his powder dyes and he mixes soda ash into those, and then that's what he sprinkles onto his t-shirts. So, but I haven't tried anything else. Oh, you're welcome, Erica. I'm glad to be able to help you with that. Yeah, if you have a ton of tulip and you just don't want to toss that out, you know, adding just a little bit of the Procyon dyes, I think, would improve those colors, but you would have to be ready to use all that dye up. Kenny style tutorial. I won't be doing one of those. I answered this question earlier, but they've invited me to come down there and do a collaboration video. I just haven't been able to make it down there. So, not yet. I try not to go in any of the designs, the styles that are pretty much, you know, one artist has spent a lot of time developing those. I don't like to encroach on those other than to just try it out for myself. But as far as putting a video out, I don't like to encroach on other dyers that way. All of the designs that I figured out myself, or the basic ones that are just out there, I do videos to help people figure those out. How long can you keep soda ash soaked shirts? Try saying that 3 times fast. They're even dried. Okay, I have some of mine that are sitting in a tub over here. I'll soak them, and they might be in here wet for up to, I say, 3 weeks or so. Longer than that, and I worry about them, you know, starting to mildew or something. But if they're dry, I've had them sit around for a year or more. I think once it's dry, I'm not going to say this definitely, but I would think that you could let them sit for as long as you want dry. Speaking of dry, my throat was dry. Somebody asked, how did I get started? So I was, let's see, can somebody tell me how the auction worked? We're done with the auction now, but whenever I finished up with the tie-dye portion, then I break out the tapestry that I dyed up last week, and in this case, it's the icosahedron. And at that point, then I open up the auction, and you just place bids in the chat box there. And then at some point, I close the auction. I usually will do a 3 count on the auction before I close it, in case there's any more bids. And then the high bid wins, and they can either pay me directly through my PayPal link, my PayPal donation link, or they can send me an email and I will send out an invoice. The other auctions that I do are over on Facebook, my MrTieDye page, and those I put up and I run those for a week. And currently I have the double rainbow hearts over there on my Facebook page that's up for auction. And there is a link to the MrTieDye Facebook page in my launch links that I just put into the chat box. So those are the 2 places I've done auctions. Eventually I'm going to try out Instagram for auctions, but I haven't done that yet. Hey, thanks for the live stream. What does Synthropol do exactly? It helps keep the dye suspended in the water. It's also a pH neutral soap, so it doesn't, regular laundry detergents a lot of times will have soda ash in them, and that raises that pH back up, and you don't want that. You want the pH to be low, because high pH is when the dyes are active and bonding. Low pH, they're not doing anything. So
Somebody wants to see the sleeves.
Oh, I guess somebody wants to see the sleeves on here. I do have one video on YouTube where I kind of show a couple of the things that I do with the sleeves. So this one here, I just opened this sleeve up so you can see the whole design, but basically this sleeve here was just folded in half right here, and then I folded this long triangle or diamond shape up on there, and then tied it up, and then dyed it just the same top and bottom in the fuchsia, the yellow, and the turquoise. And it looks like I even had a little bit of purple out here on the edge. So yeah, there's lots of things you can do with the sleeves. The other thing, if you're doing a spiral, is you can just kind of wrap them around the rest of the shirt. But it is fun sometimes to, on long sleeves, to add just a little extra detail on the sleeves or down on the cuffs. So let's see. I started to answer a question that you yelled out to me, and now I forgot what it was.
How did you get started?
Oh, how did I get started? Somebody asked. So I started doing tie-dye way back in 2000. We were opening up a bookstore, and we had candles and crystals and incense and then other handmade gifts. And we were just looking for more and more things to add into the store. And tie-dye was something that Karen, ex-wife from back in those days, she had done tie-dye before, and so she suggested that. So we bought a small kit from tie-dye or from Dharma, and we broke out, half a dozen T-shirts, tried it out. I really just fell in love from the moment I started doing tie-dye. So then we bought a big case of T-shirts, we bought a big case of dye, and we just went crazy and filled up a whole T-shirt rack. And then within 6 months, our bookstore, we moved it downtown, and it shifted from being a bookstore with some tie-dye in the corner to being a tie-dye store with some books on the wall. So tie-dye just kind of exploded in our little town of Pendleton. My store was called Indigo Child. And like I said, we had the store open for a year in Pendleton, and then we had it open for a year in LeGrand, and then we had to close it down. It just wasn't successful over in LeGrand, so we ended up closing it. But I fell in love with tie-dye from the moment I started doing it. So 20 years later, I'm still doing tie-dye. So let's see here. I think I had a couple more questions, and then we're probably going to close this out. Let's see. Oh, will you have the Peace Infinity Tapestry up for sale or auction? I'm probably going to do an auction on that one. I did have one person ask about a sale on it, but then they never replied back to me. I'm going to check to see if I have any answer on that. Yeah, I don't see an answer back on that. So yeah, I think I am going to put that one up for auction. That one will probably go up after the Rainbow Hearts over on the MrTieDye page. So, and I'll make announcements. I usually will put an announcement on Facebook over on the community tab, but then of course it'll be splattered across my Facebook and stuff. But that was a fun one to do, and yes, I will probably do that one as an auction. Baseball caps and soda ash, spray or soak. I usually soak mine just to make sure. Some of the baseball caps are made out of a thicker canvas, and I want to make sure that all of the fabric is saturated. Just spraying a little bit of soda ash on might not be enough for the thickness of the fabric. But you certainly can try just spraying them and then dyeing them. But I usually will soak mine, and then I throw it in the wash machine on the spin cycle to spin out the excess so that it's just barely damp. Let's see. And I think, what about Rainbow Warrior tees? Yes, I'm trying to get those going. I had gone with one company and for doing the screen printing where you could just order online and have it shipped directly to you, but the quality of the screen printing just wasn't where I wanted it at. I had one person that had one that had a double print on it, so the design was off a little bit, so it had 2 layers and it was over. I just didn't like that, so I've kind of closed that down. I'm looking for another one, but I'm also going to do some of the Rainbow Warrior tees locally. I'm going to dye them and then have them screen printed, and I'll put them into my store. But I've had these last few custom orders that have kind of dragged on, and then I had a couple more that I took on even though I said I wasn't going to. So I'm still trying to finish all of that stuff up where I can sit down and get a whole bunch of tees made up and then get them taken down to the screen printer. And at that point, then I will put those out for sale. I also have some stickers that I've gotten in, but I haven't had time to get those listed yet either. So let's see. Ever thought about streaming on Twitch? I've heard about Twitch, but no, I haven't thought about that yet. I'm still trying to just organize where I can get more videos made on here. And let's see. I want to get more videos made on here, and then I want to randomly do an extra video on a different day on here. So I can look into Twitch and see that's a possibility. But no, I haven't even looked at it yet, other than just knowing that it's another platform. So thank you for that question. Let's see if I got any more questions here. I think I'm going to close this out. Oh, it sounds like Julie's got a couple more. So I think I will answer a couple more questions, and then I'm going to close this out.
I'm not sure if I didn't miss one.
Carl, I can't purchase the infinite piece at this time. Oh, okay. You were the one that asked me about it. Okay, well, thank you then. Yeah, since I had given a price, I wanted to make sure I gave that as an option before I put it up for auction. But I've had several people ask about it, so I thought doing the auction might be the funnest way. I know sometimes that competition is fun to do the bidding. Okay, have you heard that Synthropol was discontinued by the manufacturer? That was something that... Okay. I don't know if there was a phone call coming in, and I don't know if that was it or the power, but hopefully everybody's back. Sorry for the little hiccup there. Okay. Oh, good night, Saucy Mare. Thank you for joining us. And yes, we'll see you again next week. What is the best washout process for preserving the whites on a shirt after dyeing? If you have whites like on red, white, and blue, the thing that helps me the most is doing a longer batch time. So I do 48 hours and I add heat. If I don't have heat, if it's in the winter time, then I would batch that probably for even longer. I mean, when I put these out in the sun, they get a lot of condensation built up in there, so I know that they get to be very hot. But basically what I'm trying to do is have all of that dye be spent, meaning it no longer works. So after 48 hours with heat, then I start out by rinsing it into sink in cold water while it's still tied. That's going to get rid of all of the soda ash in there, because once again, the soda ash is what activates the dye. So before I use warm or hot water, which helps release more dye, before that I want to get rid of the soda ash. So that's why I start with cold water first. I do a good cold water rinse for at least a minute or two. And if you really want to take an extra step in making sure that the soda ash is all gone, you can soak that in a tub of cold water and add just a little bit of white vinegar to it. The white vinegar, being acidic, is going to help neutralize the soda ash. So those are the two best tips for keeping your whites white. And then the other thing is wash with Synthropol. And if you don't have that, use the Blue Dawn dish soap. That too is a pH neutral soap. So those are my best tips for keeping your whites white. Is it possible to dye a faded tie-dye to brighten the colors, or will the colors turn to mud? Yes, if it's a simple design, you can usually fold it up in the same manner and add those same colors over top to brighten them up. The other thing that you can do is tie it up. I do have a design, I have a video called over dyeing, and for that I will take a t-shirt. Now this one here I actually started with a white t-shirt, but you can just as easily start with a faded tie-dye and then tie it up in the same Ronstar fashion and then tie it up really tight, and then all of these lines that you see on here, all of those are going to be showing that other color through the t-shirt. So there's a couple different ways. You can either try to tie it up the same way and add more of the same colors, or tie it up in a whole different way and add a little bit of black. And the black tends to make the light colors pop. So those are the suggestions that I would have for that. Okay. Oh, okay. Sorry about the being offline for the Synthropol. Like I say, I don't know if it was because my phone, somebody tried to call me on my phone or what, but yeah, I guess I was buffering for my Synthropol. So the Synthropol, what it's going to do is keep the dye suspended in the water.
It was about the discontinuing.
Oh, the discontinuing. Okay, yes. Dharma had received a notice a few years back about them discontinuing the Synthropol. They didn't end up doing that. They ended up continuing to make it. But in the meantime, let's see. Oh, Dharma, they came up with their own recipe. And then by the time they got their own recipe and got that product up, they found out that Synthropol was not being discontinued. So I don't know just what the issue was, if they thought they were and then found out that nope, they were going to keep making it. I don't know what the whole issue is, but as far as I know, they're continuing to make that. But if they stop making Synthropol, then I would probably switch over to either Blue Dawn or Dharma. They make another detergent that's similar to the Synthropol, and I think it's uses less, and it's probably even a little bit less expensive than Synthropol. I've just always used Synthropol, so I've stayed with it. But if they ever did discontinue it, then I would just switch over to a different one. But I do think it's a good idea to use a soap that's pH neutral, and it's going to help keep the dye suspended in the water. Okay. Okay, hanging soda ash soaked teas in my garage left white spots on the floor. Washed the floor with vinegar, water to neutralize the soda ash. Had been hanging outside but was killing the grass. So were you able to get the white spots up off of the garage by washing it with the vinegar water? As far as killing the grass, I haven't heard that, but I haven't hung mine outside. I've always done the spin out for removing the excess for mine. What you might try if you need to hang them outside, if you have a place that doesn't have grass, it's just dirt or something, or if you do need to hang them in the garage, maybe put a tarp down so that it doesn't continue to stain there. But yeah, I haven't had issues with that, so I don't know what else to suggest there. Okay. Oh, and it looks like you guys have been helping out answering the questions because somebody's thanking everyone for explaining. So I appreciate that. It's very helpful when you know the answer, if you just help answer it for somebody, because sometimes I don't see all the questions. I have a little chat box and it scrolls by quite quickly for me. So Julie does a good job spotting the questions, but usually putting them in caps helps me pick them out. Is there a difference with ready to tie-dye tea and a normal tea? Oh, you mean PFD, prepared for dye. I haven't read about those in a while, but as far as what I remember about prepared for dye is usually they are sewn with cotton thread instead of polyester thread. So that helps improve, so you don't have the white stitching on your dyes. And then also I believe they don't put any kind of a treatment on those. Some of the other t-shirts, they have some sort of a treatment from the manufacturer, and that can interfere with the dyeing process. So the normal teas, it's highly recommended that you do a pre-wash on the regular teas. Okay, I already answered that one. Thank you. Okay. Oh, and yes, it cleaned up with vinegar water. Okay, that's great. Yeah, I didn't think that the soda ash should stain at all, because soda ash is actually in laundry detergent, so it's meant to be a cleaning agent. So I'm glad that was you were able to wipe that up. Okay. Oh, by the way, are there any good dye resists for tie-dye? I know wax is one of the resists that people use. I haven't played with that yet, other than just a little bit of the soy wax. And the soy wax it didn't resist as much, but I just did a basic melt job with hot water, and so I probably wasn't doing the whole process properly. But if you use regular wax, but then of course you got to get the wax back out of it, and there's a whole process for that. So I haven't played with that. The other resist that people use is the washable Elmer's glue. I haven't done that yet either, but the main thing that I've heard about the Elmer's glue, you need to find the washable kind, and then after you're done dyeing it, you need to rinse in just cold water until you get all of the glue out. I guess if you use hot water, it almost sets the glue and makes it almost impossible to get out. But I've heard of people sitting and scraping and picking at the glue for a long time. So, but I like I say, I haven't done it myself, so I just try to pass on the tips that I've heard from other people. Can alcohol markers or fabric markers be used to touch up a shirt? I suppose so. I haven't done anything like that. If I have a little bit of a spot that needs more dye, I usually will just take and spray a little bit of soda ash on that spot and just put a little drop of dye in that area to do my touch-ups. But I can't say yes or no to whether you can use them. I mean, I would imagine that if it's a fabric marker, it should be wash resistant and would stay in there. So I would say yes to that, but like I say, I haven't ever done that, so I don't know just what the results would be. Okay. What do you do after you spray RIT dye on a shirt? I let it dry. I haven't used RIT dye, so I can't really answer that. I would assume that you there should be some sort of directions that come with the dye, and I would just follow whatever those directions say. And if anything, if you want better colors, I would mix the dye stronger, leave the dye to batch longer in whatever way. But yeah, I haven't ever used RIT dye, so I don't know the answer to that. Okay, thanks, Jaman. You have a great week. We'll see you next week, and I'm going to be closing this out soon. Oh, it looks like Jewel said that Jacquard has a water-based resist. She's used it and it works. So you can, let's see, somebody asked about the resist here, if I can find that. Anyway, so Jewel said that the Jacquard has a water-based one and it works. So you might check that one out. Where do you buy your blank shirts? I buy mine wholesale through sanmar.com. But you need to have a business license or register your business name with the state to sign up with them. The other places would be jiffyshirts.com, alldayshirts.com, and alphabroder.com, I believe. Those are 3 other places that I've heard of other dyers buying their shirts from. Usually if you get up to a certain amount, I think with Jiffy, I think if you order $60 worth, then you get free shipping. So that adds in there. So yeah, you can just look for those. The main thing is just find the 100% cotton t-shirts. That's what's going to give you your best colors. What do you do after you spray? Oh, okay, yeah, so I don't know the answer to the RIT dye. Okay, somebody did say they use RIT dye sometimes. They mix the dye strong with water and treat it just like tie-dye and let it batch for 48 hours. So hopefully that will help you out. And let's see. I think that's it for the questions. So I think I'm going to close this out. You guys have a great rest of your week. Like I say, today is my anniversary, so I think we're going to go out to dinner either tonight or tomorrow. And then I don't know what we're doing for the weekend, but you guys have an awesome weekend. Thank you for joining me on these Wednesdays with Mr. Tie-Dye. Peace, love, light, and laughter to you all. I love you. You guys have a great day, and namaste. Peace out. Oh, wait a minute. Can no one see my chats? Well, I saw your chat just now. Did you ask a question, Happy RN Hippie, that I missed? Let me scroll back and see if I can see that. The main thing with, if you're asking a question of me, if you put it in capital letters, but I'm scrolling back and I'm not seeing anything from you. Yeah, in all caps. Well, I apologize. Yeah, you're showing up now. I'm seeing you, but obviously me and Julie both missed your questions. So I apologize if they were in the chat box here. But what was your question? I'll hang out and answer a question for you. Okay, well maybe that's a possibility. So other people are saying they didn't see anything either. So maybe somehow it was being hidden. But you're showing up now, Happy RN Hippie. So what's your question? Thanks. Just wanted to know if using too much ice will cause designs to be lost. I don't think it'll cause the designs to be lost, but it might wash your colors out some. But the thing is, with ice dyeing, I've done only probably about 100 of them. So I still consider myself to be new to ice dyeing. So I still kind of play with how much ice I put on. I mean, I usually go by how thick if I'm doing a hoodie, I'll use more ice than what I use for a t-shirt. But put your ice on there, and then when the ice is done melting, I'll usually try to pick it up. I can usually pick up the whole rack and kind of peek underneath. Sometimes I'll stick my phone under there and take a picture of the bottom side just to see if there is color coming through to the bottom. There are times where I'll go ahead and add just a little bit more powder. If I see the ice is melted and I don't have very good color on the bottom, I'll add a little bit more powder and a little bit more ice, but then I also add more soda ash. That's one of the main things. If you're using a lot of ice, then you want to add a little bit of extra soda ash, because that's the main thing you don't want to do is wash out, dilute out your soda ash too much, because then the dyes aren't going to set up properly. So, okay, yeah, and Amber said you have to use powder when doing ice dyeing. So let me see if I tried that for the first time last weekend, didn't get through. Okay, yeah, so the powder is what people use for ice dyeing. When you're doing the liquid dyes and you put ice on top of it, then yes, you are washing those colors out, but the powder on there is more concentrated and is going to then give you the colors. But if you use too much ice, then of course it's going to wash them out anyways. So it just takes practice of how much dye to put on and how much ice, and then of course adding the soda ash in there. Any advice on cleaning my rubber bands to reuse them and not run into any problems? I usually just, as I'm taking my rubber bands off, I'll usually just have a handful, as I'm pulling them all off the t-shirt, and then I just run them under the sink right then and there, rather than letting the dye dry on there. If while the rubber bands are still wet with dye, you rinse them off, and then I put them onto a towel, and then I can kind of pat them dry, and I haven't run into any issues. Every now and then I can see that the dye will stain my rubber bands a little bit, but I haven't had that come off. So yeah, if you rinse them right as you're doing your rinsing your t-shirt, then that will get all that liquid dye off of there for you. And then I just set them on a towel to dry a little bit and then toss them back in my bag. So I hope that helps. Oh, that's from Teeny Tie-Dye. Yes, good to see you. And thank you. I got your card right up there by my calendar. Let's see. Okay. It was like the pleats were not visible. I used powder, sorry to be confusing. Yeah, then that's possible. If you use too much, you said the pleats were not visible. I mean, you didn't get lines that you were hoping for? I think, yeah, if you use too much, but usually when the ice and stuff melts and goes through, wherever you put those powdered dyes at, you're pushing that liquid straight through there. So I'm not sure just what the issue is there, but if you send me a picture, let me post my launch links into the chat box here. If you scroll down to the bottom, there's the Mr. Tie-Dye page, the message me at the Mr. Tie-Dye page. You can send me a picture of what your results were, and I might be able to help you further figure out what's going on with that. So let's see, maybe too much powder. Yeah, see, I am not positive on that. So yeah, if everything just kind of melded together. Yeah, there's a possibility that it was too much ice. And the other thing you can try, over on the Facebook, there is an ice dyeing tie-dye page, and you could post over there and ask for some advice. You might run into some more knowledgeable people around the ice dyeing. Like I say, I've done tens of thousands of liquid dyes, and I've done maybe 100 ice dyes. So I still consider myself to be a newbie when it comes to ice dyeing. I'm still kind of figuring out the whole process and just kind of narrowing in on what gets me my best results. Right at the beginning, I was using way too much powdered dye and having a lot left over, and then I got to the point where I didn't have quite enough and I had to add more. So I'm still kind of figuring that out. And then, like I say, the other thing is how much ice to put on there. Let's see. That's a possibility that something was blocking you, but there's been a lot of people typing their questions in all caps. That just makes it easier for us to find the questions. Okay, yeah, I see that. Testing my theory about all caps. Can you see this? Yeah, so I'm not sure what the issue was, but
Better late than never. Thanks for coming.
Julie says better late than never. Thanks for coming. So yeah, if you send me a picture over to my Mr. Tie-Dye page, I might be able to help you out some more there. Or like I say, I can get you a link to the ice dyeing page and see if maybe they can help you zero in on what's going on. So I'm glad I was able to see your question there just before I closed it out there. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and close this out now. Let's see, I would like to see you dye white or twill denim pants. Yes, I do have pants on my list up there. I've had several people request a video for that. So what I need to do is go out and find myself another pair of pants and then get them tie-dyed. So I will have that sometime this summer. I will put up a video on dyeing tie-dye or tie-dyeing pants. So thank you. Okay, so once again, peace, love, light, and laughter out to all of you. You guys have a great rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. I love you all, and namaste. Peace out.